Ladies and gentlemen, we're here.
I'm part of the Kliq, isn't everybody?
Yes! 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 I got an idea, yeah. Beat up John Cena!
Give me a hell yeah!
Oh, a little bit of the bubbly.
Too sweet! This is where the power lies!
I am the man.
We need if we can survive! It's showtime, folks!
The following episode is scheduled for one fall, and it is for your listening pleasure. This is In The Kliq.
Welcome, everyone, to a very special episode of In The Kliq. I'm Baby Huey, and as you all know, I love Major League Wrestling, MLW, and on the line is someone I'm extremely excited to be talking to, a member of one of the best factions in pro wrestling today, the Dynasty, and the current Caribbean heavyweight champion, the AirPod God himself, Richard Holliday. How's it going, Richard?
It's going well, and I must say I do appreciate recognizing the fact that I am the Caribbean champion. That goes a long way with me, so kudos to you.
Oh, of course. You're very welcome. Yes, you're my champion, so I can't wait to see you eventually defend the title down the road, so fingers crossed we can get back to wrestling shows in the near future. And let's just get all the business out of the way. Of course, you can watch MLW Saturdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on Bein Sports, MLW's YouTube page, and now streaming on DAZN. And remember, subscribe to MLW's YouTube page to see new episodes of MLW Fusion, Anthology, Underground, and Pulp Fusion. And I'll link those up in the description of this podcast and also up at 1077thebone.com. So, Richard, first things first, I got to ask you this. Are you doing this call right now while wearing your AirPods?
Are you doing this call right now, recording into a microphone?
Yes, I am.
Yes, I am.
Awesome. Okay, I was expecting that. I'm glad to hear that. But yeah, I'm curious, man, how you been doing so far during this whole pandemic over the last few months?
I believe that I've been doing quite well, to be honest with you. I mean, this is certainly an environment for the strong-minded, and definitely for people who have optimism, and I do. So it has been challenging, and it's been weird, and this is probably a time that at least my generation will never see again, hopefully, knock on wood. So It's just a lot of adaptation. It's a lot of realization and just trying to do the best that I can. But I feel like I'm thriving given the conditions.
Cool. No, that's very good to hear. I'm glad to hear that. And let's just talk about MLW as far as this new partnership with DAZN, and fans now can watch MLW anytime, anywhere on the DAZN app. So what are your thoughts on just this new partnership? I would imagine it's exciting to see MLW grow and just increase their visibility on more streaming platforms.
Without a doubt, MLW has really done a fantastic job expanding its presence in the marketplace and getting as much visibility as they possibly can. And think about the amount of consumers that subscribe to DAZN and who are going to tune in and be able to see Fusion and some of the other major shows that we're going to be putting on that platform. So something like DAZN is an extremely excellent partnership for us. And any partnership that we do strategically is going to help the brand and help us grow. And I'm always for that. You know, increased visibility with consumers that's the key to success. So just another tremendous move, and if I fully back it.
Awesome. That's really cool to hear. And I just got to say congrats to you. I saw on Twitter that recently it was your 5th anniversary of your very first match. So if you remember it, can you just tell me about your first match 5 years ago?
Oh, my God. These 5 years have certainly flown by. I will say that.
Yeah.
Not to toot my own horn, but the progression that I have made in those 5 years has been quite substantial. Just given taking a look at that picture that I posted, and no shame in that picture whatsoever. I posted it. man, the goatee baby blue combo, I think has been retired.
Okay.
I don't believe that's coming back, but that match was actually in South Bend, Indiana. It was where I had my first match, and it was about as good as I expected my first match to be. Demolition actually interfered in it. That is not included in the picture, but it's a little fun tidbit.
No way.
But yes, they did. Yeah. Demolition ruined my first match and cost me a victory. So thanks to them. But, it's been 5 years. It's been a wild ride, and that's where it started.
That's very cool. So, yeah, encourage all the listeners out there. Follow you on Twitter and Instagram at Most Marketable. It's you're just putting a lot of great stuff out there, especially just documenting what you've been doing during this whole quarantine, shelter in place, working out and all that good stuff. But also on your social media, you also did know recently that it was also your 2-year anniversary signing with MLW. So how's your experience been thus far? And any particular highlight from your time in MLW? What is your biggest highlight from your time in MLW?
Yeah, it's been a quite impactful 2 years, and the mark that I have made along with the dynasty has been very substantial, and we are synonymous with Major League Wrestling at this point. But I would say that the highlights for me is of course the formation of the dynasty and everything that we've done week to week, and winning the MLW Tag Team Championships with Maxwell was fantastic, and being able to defend those internationally in Mexico and truly make them World Tag Team Championships was something I take a lot of pride in. And of course, being the Caribbean champion is something that I don't take for granted every single day, knowing that I am representing a region and being a champion for them and representing the company and putting them on my back. It really is. It would be stressful for the mortal man, but for me, it is just something I like to do on a daily basis. Yeah,
absolutely. And I definitely want to applaud you because I really think you're becoming part of the foundation of MLW success. And I'll touch on that in a second. But real quick, I just want to say, for me, when I talk to my friends just about the state of pro wrestling, specifically before the pandemic, we all know there's a lot of wrestling promotions putting on shows, creating content for weekly television. And I tell everyone, you need to check out MLW. And I explain to them, I'm a little bit older, so I try to compare it to the 90s and obviously the Attitude Era when you got WWE, WCW doing their thing. But you also had ECW, this hidden gem in the wrestling landscape that is organically getting over, generating a lot of buzz. And you see a lot of upcoming stars making their mark, which led them to growing and becoming this legendary promotion. And I see a lot of similarities with MLW today that I really think it's the hidden gem in today's very crowded wrestling world. Is that a safe observation coming for you? And maybe can you explain what makes MLW so special?
I mean, I think that's a fair comparison. ECW was, trailblazing its own kind of path, right? Mm-hmm. Within the marketplace when professional wrestling was really, really booming. So to be competitive in that space was quite impressive. So I do think it's a fair comparison. I mean, there are the two big dogs in the market that people are perceiving right now as the top two. But I think if you put MLW's roster or production against anybody, I think they're going to be pleasantly surprised as a consumer if they've never watched us before. You tune in, you see the Dynasty, of course, Hammerstone and myself, and people like Filthy Tom Lawler or Jacob Fatu, people like that who are kind of carrying this company. Selena De La Renta, to name another. And our roster, I believe, can go up against anybody. And the show that we produce on a weekly basis always has a consumer's rating. So I do feel that is a fair comparison.
Awesome. No, I'm glad to hear that. And also another congrats to you. It's just recently it was announced that you signed a new multi-year deal with MLW. So along with Hammerstone recently, and also even Jacob Fatu signed another deal. So I just would think that just shows that MLW is really in it for the long haul and just want to establish their core group of wrestlers to really grow this company with. And so you must be excited to just be part of that core foundation to build that company on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like any sports organization, I mean, it's, the Los Angeles Dodgers, they saw Mookie Betts, they locked him up for 12 years. Kansas City Chiefs, they see Patrick Mahomes, they locked him up for 10 years. It's when you see somebody that you feel you can make money with, you lock them up and you get them under some sort of agreement. And I think when the negotiations with me started happening, it was a very mutually beneficial deal in terms of I saw a future for myself in MLW because I believe that this brand is going to continue to grow, and I do think that it's going to continue making waves within the space. And we may be at one quote-unquote tier right now within the market, but, man, just the way that we're going and the trajectory that we're on, I see a lot of greener pastures in the company's future. So I felt like it was a very good decision for me to stay. Mm-hmm. And, of course, vice versa, if you were running a wrestling company and you had me, you would very much make it a priority to resign me.
Absolutely. I can't agree more with that. And I know you kind of addressed this on one of the recent episodes of Pulp Fusion, but not too long ago, MLW posted that they're looking at the possibility of putting on a live show at an island, either Hawaii or Puerto Rico. Is that something you want to see happen? And any preference on which location to maybe do it at, and maybe even possibly defend your Caribbean title there?
I do want this to happen. I don't like Savio putting pressure on me. However, I do feel that it is necessary for us to continue to expand our reach into the Caribbean. So a match within on Puerto Rican soil would be legendary, to say the least. That's not to say that I wouldn't go to Hawaii to defend it there as well, although not quite the Caribbean. It is more or less the same type of scene. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think that is a plausible scenario. I would love to see it happen, and I think it's necessary in order to grow the Caribbean Championship to heights that nobody had ever perceived that it could be.
Nice. Okay, I'm glad to hear that, and hopefully, we get that done soon and see some new episodes of Fusion come out of that. That'd be very cool. And also just following MLW on social media. They've been kind of, I think, teasing the consumers as far as it was a photo recently they posted of an empty ring with the MLW Fusion logo in the background. So just if it's possible, can you give us any insight, maybe what that means? Is there potentially a live show in the works with or without fans?
Well, unfortunately, I can't speak to that at the moment. But I do know that MLW is an ever-growing brand, and we are always trying to grow and to give the consumers what they want. And ultimately, what they want is to see more MLW. So I will say that. I do believe that, speculation is always fun, especially in professional wrestling.
Yep.
So I think we keep the speculation alive and go from there.
Okay. Cool. No, I encourage all listeners, make sure you follow MLW on all social media. Just when those announcements do come out, they will be the first to know. And listen, during this whole pandemic, we know MLW has stopped production. Court Bauer has been very vocal as far as, he's concerned about the safety of the wrestlers and the staff. That's what comes first. And I respect that. And during that time, obviously, it sucks when nothing's going on. Everyone's, just at home waiting for things to hopefully change for the better. But also during this time, we've seen guys from the roster branch out and do other things. We've seen Tom Lawler do some stuff with New Japan recently, Brian Pillman Jr. making appearances on AEW Dark. Has there been any opportunity for you to wrestle in some other promotions in just like a short-term type of thing while MLW is on hiatus right now?
My top priority is with Major League Wrestling and to make sure that I do what's best for them as a company. And, I can't speak for anybody else, but that's the way that I look at it. If I sign a new deal with Major League Wrestling, then that's where my priority is. And then, of course, on top of that, my priority is safety of my own health. That will always come first. So making sure that is number one, and then making sure that my health and well-being is reserved for Major League Wrestling. That's kind of the way that I interpret it.
Okay. No, I respect that coming from you, and definitely it's I think you're making the smart move doing that. And just, speaking of the idea of promotions working together, talent sharing, is that something you kind of want to see maybe MLW explore more options of once kind of things kind of get back to normal and they're able to start running shows again, would you like to see MLW do more cross promotions with other companies, like even what they did with AAA earlier this year?
Yeah, I think I don't believe it's a necessity, but I do believe that it is beneficial. Sense that, yes, we did partner up with AAA. We partnered up with CMLL. As you mentioned, Tom did something with New Japan. Hammerstone, of course, went over and did something with Noah. So there have been partnerships internationally. It seems like is kind of the focus. Regionally and domestically, I don't know if anybody would do that. I mean, you see so many of these promotions, locking up talent into contracts and agreements, and I think that's because that they want them in terms of being exclusive. So it's a tough subject, and I think it could be beneficial and it could be fun. And I think for the consumers to see, a cross-promotional branded show put on, you never know what could happen. You could see some matchups that you never thought you would see. So I personally like them, but again, I don't think that they're a necessity, especially when you're growing as a brand on your own.
Mm-hmm. Okay, no, and I think for us as consumers, we of course would like to see these potential like all-star matchups and whatnot. So if it happens, it's great. But with MLW, everything they're doing, and I can't praise enough just the stacked roster that you guys have. And specifically, I want to talk on just about the Dynasty. And I love everything you guys have been doing. It's for maybe some of the younger fans out there listening right now, I grew up luckily enough in the 90s, and I was able to watch, obviously, like the Four Horsemen do their thing. Do you like to compare yourself to like the Four Horsemen, what the Dynasty kind of represents right now?
No, I don't. I don't. I believe that the Dynasty has formed our own little pocket in professional wrestling, our own little niche when it comes down to factions or groups or whatever it is that you want to call it, trios. I think we're different, and I think it's because Maxwell, myself, and Hammer, we are very like-minded, and we all do have the same goals and very similar traits, but I believe that we are all very, very different. Okay. And a lot of the groups that you see, they're more of the same. I don't know. I just think that we have a different element to ourselves, and we're all strong alpha male type personalities. So I'd like to believe that we are different.
Okay. No, and I love just all the vignettes you guys have been doing, and just you and Hammerstone. I love the chemistry you guys have on my screen. So can you kind of just explain or elaborate just your friendship with Hammerstone, and just how, I guess, maybe how much fun you guys are having working together, and just what about each other that you guys just have such a fun charisma on each episode of MLW Fusion?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, me and Hammer are just kind of two peas in an air pod, and we are just best friends. And what you see on your screen is true, and that's reality. We're not putting on a front at all. We have a blast when we're together. And again, you would maybe never think that Hammerstone and myself would be as close as we are. Maybe given the way that we dress or talk or whatever the case may be. He's from Phoenix. I'm from Connecticut. It's so different, but it works. And Hammer and I, it's just super dynamic. I don't know. We just get on screen and we just kind of let it fly, and whatever happens, happens. It was kind of the same way with Max, and we just made magic out there. And that's what we're going to continue to do.
I love hearing that. And just speaking of MJF, and if you could kind of maybe explain, because I was a little confused last year. Obviously, I saw him appearing both on MLW and AEW. What was kind of that agreement? Was it like a working agreement that he was able to appear for both promotions during that time period? I was just kind of confused. I was like, wait, I see him here, but I also see him there. So was he just able to have that flexibility to do both?
Yeah, I think he just had that flexibility at the time. He was able to make it happen, and I commend him for that. And the powers that be at MLW and the powers that be at AEW were obviously both in agreement that it would be beneficial for all parties to let it happen, and it did. And kudos to Max because, man, he gave his 110% to us every time he was with us. He gave 110% to them every time he was with them. And that's just kind of the performer that he is. So, I mean, again, I don't know the specifics because quite frankly, I never asked. But yeah, it was quite commendable what he was doing.
So what's your guys' relationship right now? Do you still stay in touch with him? Are you guys still like just close friends?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I talk to Maxwell as often as I can. He's obviously super busy right now amid the pandemic, and I'm letting him do his thing. But yeah, we speak whenever we get the chance, and we're close. I'm probably one of the very few people, maybe on Earth, that Maxwell speaks to in a friendly manner, which is great.
Awesome. That's great to hear. And I've got a couple more questions for you. So I'm just curious for the future of Dynasty, any potential? I mean, I love like that one photo of you guys, all four of you. I've shared it on social media, and it was all over MLW social media, just the four of you together. Is there any talks of maybe adding more members to the Dynasty, maybe get it back to a four-piece one day?
When we went into recruitment mode and we brought in Gino, that was something that we thought was beneficial at the time. But now I don't know. I don't know what the future is in terms of expansion for the Dynasty. I will say that Hammerstone and I, as founding fathers of the Dynasty, will continue to make all the right decisions for the Dynasty and make sure that it is as strong as ever and will continue to grow. I can't say that.
Love that. And just curious, what's next from MLW? Or what would you like? Okay, hypothetically, if things got kind of back to normal and we were able to kind of live back our regular everyday lives, what would you like to see MLW do next? And do you have any personal goals that you want to accomplish in MLW?
I would like to see MLW make the move to do a show in Puerto Rico. I think that would be incredible. I want us to get back on pay-per-view. The numbers that we did for our first ever pay-per-view were exceeded any expectations that any of us had within the company. And other than that, from a company standpoint, I just want to see us continue to grow the way that I know that we will. I'm most focused on just getting back to that first show because, man, I miss the consumers. I really do. They get so loud when we're in the ring, especially Hammer and I, and I miss that. And I miss that rush. It's like having a really good latte. It's just that kind of caffeination that I get from the consumers that is I really miss.
Awesome. I love hearing that coming from you. So, and yeah, for me personally, I would love to see MLW come out west, specifically here in the San Francisco Bay Area, Northern California. I know you guys do a lot of shows on the East Coast and in the Midwest and even Texas. So hopefully one day we could see you guys all come out here. I've been lucky to see Hammerstone wrestle out here a few times, and he's awesome. But I would love to see you come out here in person as well, and we can even maybe do an interview in person. I think that'd be awesome. But I also want one last thing kind of ask you. So we've been seeing on the one last episode of MLW Fusion, and even more in the Pulp Fusion, just like these little teases or subtle little announcements that like Contra Unit is out there attacking members of the MLW roster. So for you personally, are you a little bit nervous, scared, or concerned that Contra Unit could potentially come in after you or the Dynasty at some point?
Well, it's always important to take a look at your surroundings and make sure that you have eyes in the back of your head. However, I don't think that Contra is dumb enough to mess with the intellectuals that the Dynasty is, most including myself. So I think that they like to pick on other people who, that they can push around a little bit easier. I don't know if they're going to get in Hammerstone's face and try and push him around the way that they do to others. So if they'd be wise, they would stay away.
Awesome. Okay, good. That's good to hear. And listen, Richard, I can't thank you enough for making the time today. Big fan of everything you've done and everything that MLW's been doing for the wrestling business. And so I encourage everyone, Subscribe to MLW's YouTube page. All the back episodes are there. You can watch everything, catch up, especially right now during this pandemic. You got some downtime, catch up. Also, follow MLW on DAZN and watch him on Bein Sports Saturday night. And also follow Richard on Twitter, Instagram at Most Marketable. And hey, listen, Pro Wrestling Tees announced a big sale going on throughout the summer. So check out Richard Holliday's Pro Wrestling Tees store. I'll put the link as well up on the website. And Richard, is there anything else you want to plug, promote to our listeners out there?
I would just say, if you're a consumer and you're out there on social media platforms, and I know that you are, I would follow me at Most Marketable on Twitter and on Instagram. You can go on ProWrestlingTees.com. You can type in my name, 2 L's in Holiday. You can buy one of my very dynastic shirts. Also, I have coffee mugs and T-shirts available on MLWshop.com. And if you do any of these things, just know, especially when you're on my Twitter or Instagram, that you are breathing Rarefied Air.
That's awesome. Listen, Richard, thank you so much for making the time today. Good luck to you, and fingers crossed MLW can get back to doing shows very soon. And let's do this again very soon, okay?
Hey, man, not a problem. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Richard. I really appreciate it.
Bye.
There you have it. Thank you again to the AirPod God himself, Richard Holliday, for making the time on this episode of In The Kliq. All right, Kliqsters, you know the drill. Go follow MLW on all of their social media platforms. I can't stress enough how much I love MLW. It's so much fun. And like I said earlier, because of the pandemic, I'm sure you have a lot of free time. So go ahead, catch up on previous episodes of MLW on their YouTube page, and go follow them on DAZN as well. And as always, please follow In The Kliq on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for @InTheKliq. And subscribe to In The Kliq on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. We're all over the place. And remember to rate, review, and share the podcast. And also subscribe to In The Kliq's YouTube page. All right, let's go home now. Thank you to everyone for tuning in and all the continuous support. And that's the bottom line, because Huey said so.